mind is that these are really tools helping people take care of their own family members. So it's not necessarily that you're going to save them. The technology is going to save them or absolutely keep them safe. It's more of a tool. And I think that's what a lot of people are finding out. Other questions? Yes, in the back.
Just to add to that question there. I have a home automation company in New York. Now we're getting that person's business model. Our insurance carrier dropped us because we're doing medical monitoring, lifestyle monitoring. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if you're out there, because everyone wants to say, I can't forget that I do that insurance.
And that, I think that's a challenge for a lot of brokers, quite honestly. Yes, I'm sorry. One of the challenges has been for this particular organization, New York-based, I think you said, where in trying to get insurance coverage, they dropped them because they didn't want to give them lifestyle coverage. It's a little too close to, a lot of companies, a lot of insurance companies struggle because they don't necessarily understand what they're insuring. Or what the responsibility is on an individual versus the technology. But I think that that's going to be more of an issue, quite frankly, as companies get more into this. And I'm not sure that we've seen the worst of it yet, quite frankly, because I think that as more companies come out and there's more issues and people do sue more, I think you're going to find that there's going to be a lot more conversation and interest and concern about the insurance companies. Other questions? Yes.
Sort of an umbrella comment on these three presentations. It's fascinating to know that for every older person moving in with their kids, 2 of the kids are moving in with their parents. There's a sort of an influx of multi-generational homes, families. The whole sort of structure of the American nuclear family is changing. The economy is doing it, and frankly, immigration is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 largest immigration groups coming from South Asia and Latin America, where multi-generational families are way more common. Your mother living with you, for instance, Vijay.
Actually, my mother lives in India, but in fact, that's a, yeah.
It was a long walk in the park.
Yeah, it's a really long walk in the park and a swim as well. No, she was visiting us from there.
I think it's an interesting point because I think that as you look at some of the solutions that are here, it's it's not just mom and dad are coming in to live with me because they're aged and the kids are gone. But it also drives some of the, how do I get more of my family to take responsibility to care for one another? And I think one of the things that maybe that Charlie highlighted there is you've got a generational gap that the technology can actually help with. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the key features that you feel from a what I'll call a generational or connectedness perspective that you guys have been able to put together in some maybe a sample story.
Well, I'd like to make a quick comment. I think that's absolutely true. We've got to go. Before World War II, you took care of your own, basically.
Yep.
I mean, nursing homes were filled with aging bachelors. But, this technology will allow us to actually go back to old times because people want to take care of their own, even if they live, across the world from them. But we do. I made a joke about the texting stuff, and we actually do have that capability in our system. But that's the important thing that technology can do. It can do that translation, so someone who is sitting on an Android or something can still communicate with someone who probably would never even consider using an Android. But technology can do that, the right technology.
Well, let me take another crack at that. So in terms of the connectedness between the senior and the caregiver, there are, of course, different ways to do that, and nothing will ever replace the good old phone, right? You can always make a phone call and call. But sometimes that is not always practical to do all the time. In my case, my mother's in India and she's across the world, so half the time when I'm awake here, she's sleeping and vice versa. So what we have done is approach it in a certain way, and there are 2 things. One is, and again, this is in the context of monitoring, right? So we have what we call a caregiver portal on our system, and that allows the family member, like myself, for example, to sort of know what's going on in regarding the safety and the day-to-day activities of my mother. I can tell if she's had a fall. I can tell if she's generally walking enough for the day. I can tell if her rest patterns are good. I can tell if she's sleeping well at night, can tell if my dad has gone for his daily walk for the day for an hour, all of those things. Those are kind of good for me to know because after you have a parent who has an incident, you worry every single day about what may come up next. And it's really good to know when something happens and to get alerted about it right away. So that is one thing. And the second thing that we do, which is a little different, is, again, in the spirit of staying connected. And sometimes when I'm at work, I cannot call my mom every day, right, or my dad for that matter. But we have a way, and again, some people may like it, some may not, but we have the ability to send things like messages, which could be text messages or emails and things like that. And in general, what happens is that the senior will then get those messages, play it to them as voice, very, very natural sounding voice. My mom has never touched a computer in her life. My dad is always on the computer. Okay, so we have found no common ground about that. So it's not like there's a stereotype image of people being either computer savvy or not. You get all kinds. But in any case, getting a simple message to be sent to them saying, "Hi, Mom, I love you. I think, how's your back doing today? I'll give you a call this weekend." It's a simple little touch on a daily basis that keeps them connected. So I think the caregiver to see their connectedness is a very important thing.
Good. Other questions? I'm sorry. Go ahead, George.
We found pretty much the same thing with a lot of the folks as they get older. The family, they want to live independently and on their own, but the family likes to stay in touch with them. And so if they can't hear over the telephone or they don't know when the phone rings or the doorbell rings, it keeps the whole family tense, not just the senior citizen. So with our equipment, they can also get telephones that have amplification as well as the other alerting devices so that when someone is at their door or if the telephone does ring, then they can stay in touch. And so that means a lot to them because most people want to live in their home and not dependent on their children.
Yes.
The services and the products we have, are there any sources of funding from insurance companies or from the government or anybody that's supporting this other than just the person?
A lot of our products are purchased through state agencies. I, at one time, approached the insurance companies to see if they would purchase products for people, and they said no, they're a luxury device. And I said, how can it be a luxury to know if your house is on fire or if somebody calls you? You know, that's it's just as important because you could have a fire next door, and somebody might want to come and tell you, you know, get out of the house, there's a fire. And but they would never do any of that. Some of the state agencies have some pretty good programs where they'll buy stuff, but it's primarily the phone companies. With our products, they can buy a product that helps the person with the phone, and then they can add other transmitters to it. That is the user themselves, so they can expand their system to cover other areas.
Yes, in the back.
In the past, you've had a tech zone for your industry where you can all kind of group together. I noticed that this year that's not there. Is there a reason for that, and what's the cause?
There is a tech zone.
For this group?
Yes.
Yes.
There's the digital health at Silver Summit Tech Zones right downstairs in the North Hall. So you can see all of these products in demonstrations. So the North Hall, just as you go in, over towards, in the front and towards the right, just past the boom boom cars. But you'll see banners on the ceiling and big round columns that say Silver Summit and then Digital Health. Digital Health is right behind Silver Summit.
Can I go back to that last question
Yes.
a second here? You know, it's stunning to me every once in a while that, of course, by the time the government decides something is a good idea, it's hardly innovative. I mean, that's clear. But the insurance companies, I just don't get it. I don't get how people work. It seems contrary to their self-interest. Insurance companies have been collecting long-term care insurance for quite a while now, you know, and I'm sure it was a big cash flow, positive cash flow for a while. But at some point, it's going to be time to pay out. And boy, you know, staying in their homes is so cheap, much cheaper. And if just for a couple, you know, another year, you'd think that they would be all over these technologies. And